Greetings and salutations, everybody. We are back with more Abeyance. Huzzah!
Yes.
This is Peter Bowman and Mecha GM, and I'm going to hand it over to the actual Game Master, Nick. So,
Yeah, that's all right. Great. Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Guys, it's been a little while since we've played.
Yes.
I got sick in that time, and I think that my brain completely fully emptied itself of stuff that we did. So I'm kind of going to need to refill this stuff as we start up here.
Okay.
To recap what we went through last time, you guys had finished your confrontation with Davy Jones, the Dread Reaper pirate, and essentially strong-armed him into helping you to follow your investigation further in terms of tracking down the soul of Denzel Trelawney, the bookkeeper who had turned up missing while you were trying to investigate your actual lead with Cecilia Teague, the Soul Not Reaped in Cornwall. Davy Jones took you to a bizarre creature in the depths of the Ocean of Loss named Idrashtakersket, sort of primeval, primordial precursor to the Reapers as you are familiar with them. He is a shark from an unfathomable amount of time ago that seemingly was recruited by death to fulfill the role that is now done in much greater minutiae by Gideon and the other Reapers. After a lot of talking with a shark that doesn't seem to understand how most people get information from each other, he did cough up the spirit of Denzel Trelawney, which you were able to recover after he had kind of left you with the indication that there is something strange going on in the world, but that you had been guided to him by a spirit greater than himself. To get some sort of insight into why messing with the conditions surrounding death is a bad thing.
So we've been guided to the Game Master to talk to the God Shark. Gotcha. The only
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of literally what happened.
God Shark!
Once you had recovered Denzel Trelawney, you were able to talk with him a bit. And he indicated that the reason that he had been killed was because he had been doing some bookkeeping work for the Scuttlers, a smuggling and laundering ring that works in the UK. And that he noticed that some of the stuff that they were up to didn't seem to add up, quite literally, because he was doing the books for them. And he's managed to track this down to some sort of operation that they were doing involving medical drugs. And he was killed off in order to prevent this from getting out somehow. And that was basically where we left off. So, at the point that we're going to be starting off this session, I will say that you guys were out on the sea for a couple of days because, of course, to begin with, Gideon, you had gone out ahead of everyone to try and do your own investigation. And then when you were waylaid, everyone kind of went after you. And it took a bit of time for them to find Davy Jones. It took a bit of time for him to take you to Idrashtakersket, and then it took a bit of time for him to take you all back to shore.
Yes.
So it's been a couple days that you guys have been out on the Ocean of Loss before you're able to return to mainland Limbo proper.
Right.
So few things going on. One of the things that you guys mentioned wanting to do, but when we started up, is you wanted to talk to see if Alex Hernandez, the first Soul Not Reap that you were able to recover, if he had woken up from his coma-like state. There's also some other stuff going on. I mean, you guys have kind of uncovered a few different things in this latest investigation. What you want to do with the information is up to you. So we'll do some kind. We'll kind of like put the picture together over how your kind of situation is developing through this. So, we'll go ahead and start with the Alex Hernandez thread.
Okay.
But I will say that maybe some of the stuff that we're going to be going over right here is not necessarily all in chronological order.
That's fair.
In terms of maybe you guys will do some stuff before you're able to go and see him because he hasn't woken up immediately once you have returned. Just kind of so this is all kind of like happening over the course of the same probably few-day period. So when you guys are first alerted that Alex has woken up, who wants to go and talk to him? Do you want? It can be all of you. But I'm just want you say you don't all have to feel. Like
I'm thinking Gideon probably shouldn't be one of them.
I think Dentalion wants to.
I think Dentalion. No, I think Gideon. I think Gideon's going to be busy doing something else. Because it occurred to me what Gideon's probably going to be up to.
Okay.
And B, I think actually, other people are probably will be better at handling the situation than I will. But Gideon is very much in the mode of writing up a report of what's happened over the past chunk of time. Because he realizes that this probably needs to be all of this thing, including interacting with the shark, needs to be reported.
There is paperwork to be done.
Yes. So a nice, very detailed, very accurate chronological report of what has happened over the past little bit of time is what Gideon's going to be doing. He's going to be at his typewriter typing way more efficiently doing hunt and pecking way more efficiently than he has any right to do.
Ding ding.
Yes.
Ding.
Jerome definitely wants to go in because he has his ongoing theory that he wants to basically ask on about.
Right, you've got your bulletin board slung over your back. You're ready to add some more string and pins to it. Right,
as you do.
So
okay.
That's where Gideon will be.
All right, so Gideon is specifically not going. Does
Yes.
anyone else want to be doing something else? Or okay.
Seeing as how Reiko tends to be the most, regular appearing of everyone in the group to, the recently dead, she probably should go by virtue of, oh, here's someone who looks like someone who's not a threat.
Okay.
I mean, I could look friendly if I want to. If I
Do
can
you
make that
want to?
choice.
Very
Maybe.
familiar. I look just like the sleep paralysis demons that plagued you in your childhood.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Okay.
But I would say that if if 40 I look at roll 20, see the name there, just like okay, if Reiko's gonna
I get it.
yeah, if Reiko's gonna go over there, then then Tan will as well. Yeah.
Okie doke. And Jerome is going, and Dentalion is going. All right, so the four of you arrive in the kind of clinic-ish area that you left Alex in several days to a week-ish prior. And Betty, his dog, is still there at bedside, happily kind of wagging her tail. The big jumping around phase when Alex first woke up seems to have passed at this point. So she's just kind of keeping him company. And as you come into the room, give me a charisma check, everyone.
Just straight
Base
charisma?
straight charisma.
Charisma, like, just check. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
All right.
Oh, I rolled well.
It's that owl let me from that place.
Oh God.
It's an owl from the painting.
All right. So as the four of you entered the room, Alex had apparently been alerted that he was going to have visitors. He did not expect the walking humanoid 4 to 5 foot tall owl. So when he sees you, Jerome, he does kind of like sit up, and you start to see the panic rush across his face. Dan and Tan, despite the fact that you are not very regular looking individuals, you seem to manage to kind of like immediately just sort of through body language alone, like kind of like puts to put your hands out, put your hands on like Jerome's shoulder, and stuff and that kind of thing, and made it very obvious that you guys are not here to eat him, I guess.
Oh yeah, we're totally here to mug this guy who's dead.
Is it possible to use cast a instance of calm emotions to help keep the situation from escalating out?
I think that is probably a good second step to the phase, to keep it at the level of this will be a conversation and not a let's talk the kid down to make sure that he's not trying to run out of the room.
Okay, so click. Oops, I clicked on vicious mockery. Actually, I don't even have that spell.
He's very, very psychologically wounded now, and he's scared. So good job.
No, but yeah. So Tan will throw out an instance of calm emotions. You know, it's just sort of like the lighting changes in the room, and it becomes like it becomes.
We just turned purple.
I see what Tan is doing, and I counter it with the fear spell.
Good cop, bad cop. Okay.
it's like good cop, bad cop. We got good cop, incompetent cop, and we also got bad cop, doesn't get results cop. Those are your three different like angles you can view that there.
I will follow all of this with thaumaturgy, and my voice is just really loud for a minute.
Hello.
but
I'm reminded that one bit with Bart sitting afraid in the bed, and Homer kicks the door open and goes, "Hey boy, you want to see a new hockey basket chainsaw?"
Oh, what was I thinking there?
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Alex, after the initial rush of panic, you guys take control of the situation. He kind of settles back in his bed, and he, kind of his eyes dart between each of you in turn. And he says, actually, primarily addressing Dantalion, I guess you're the guys that you're the visitors I was told I was going to get.
Yeah,
Are you
that's
guys
right.
Are you guys like police or something?
Think of us more like social workers. I
That's
see.
probably the best way to get at it.
There's usually a procedure that happens. It just sort of naturally happens. You pass on. You show up at You're collected by a Reaper, and you go through a process of figuring out where you deserve to go. But that got hit a snag somewhere along the lines, and you never got picked up by a Reaper to guide you on your way home. So, yeah, we just want to ask some questions, about how you're doing. Like, you've definitely been through a rough time there.
Make a persuasion check with advantage. Okay, 12.
I was really hoping I could use deception there.
You're telling the truth.
I know. I probably should have taken deception and should have taken persuasion instead of deception, but given the character's background, deception made more sense.
Yeah.
You're still getting a hold of the talking honest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's only been 60 years, 70 years.
Old habits.
That's not very long at all. Italian. That's barely even a minute.
So, So that wasn't like a joke? Like, I thought the guys who came in were like doctors, but they told me I'm dead. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you have passed on, so to speak.
We're all dead.
And for that matter, those that came by tend to have pretty terrible bedside manner. I'd be concerned if they were actually doctors. That would probably lead to a lot of confusion for those who are still living.
I mean, I guess this isn't like any hospital I've ever been in before, but it's just
It feels clinical, doesn't it?
anyone here can make an insight check if you wish.
Insight, you say?
Tan just
Why
like
do I
throwing up.
always roll below my freaking passive?
I don't know.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, it's all
Passive
right.
15.
He's adjusting
Tan.
well.
So, Tan, you recall that for Alex's case and the case of most of these SNRs that have been landing on Gideon and Dantalion's desk, they did show up in Limbo at a point and then vanished. So Alex should already have gone like at least partially through the process of like being kind of going through orientation, so to speak, and had these concepts made familiar to him by this point.
Yeah, having to sit down with Ted Danson.
So he seems, the fact that he is still confused about the fact that he is dead does seem odd, even if he did like vanish from Limbo and come back.
Right. So I'm trying to think here of how Tan would kind of broach this topic further from here, and then say, well, if you actually 1 second. So do we know? Like, so we basically kind of know what the sequence of events was for this person. We don't know what the sequence was for Alex here.
You know that. Go ahead.
This was the individual that we picked up from Florida, where we followed them as they did their routine, working at like a nightclub kind of dealy thing.
Sure. I'm not talking about that. I'm right.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, do we know, like, I guess the sequence of what happened to them after they died is sort of what I was just referring to. Just
okay, yeah, they got taken out in like that outy area. Their soul went towards processing. Their body was taken to that lab where we picked them up ultimately, but evidently their soul got dragged back out, and from there it just kind of lingered in the corner while the body was disposed of or removed in some manner.
okay.
And when you found the soul, it had been transformed into a kind of monstrous form. It returned to a shape
Very bad
that
hair day.
resembled Alex again once
Right.
he was reunited with Betty.
Right. So Tan will just sort of nod a bit and say, well, at the very least, we were able to find you and bring you back here. So there's at least a possibility for you to find peace, and for those of us that kind of work in this line of area to help those that lived around you find peace as well.
All right. He does seem to take your words to heart. Like he still seems confused, but you do at least have the effect of comforting and calming him further. Man, so how'd you guys like? So did I just like show up here, or did why are you guys so interested in me?
Well, normally when someone passes on, shuffles off their mortal coil sort of thing, I told you about the process. You showed up and then left again, and that's really unusual. And when we found you, you were in quite the state. So we want to make sure you're feeling well, and also see if we can figure out what happened to you, so this doesn't happen again.
Wait, so you saying like I died and then came back and then died again?
More like you died, your soul got lost, and wandered around as, I guess, a ghost would be the closest approximation.
Man, I always thought my abuela was crazy when she talked about that kind of stuff. So ghosts are real.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of, yeah. I'd say that's fair. A lot of things are. A lot of stuff in mythology is real after a fashion.
What like? So like like gods and stuff?
Well, just about every afterlife you've ever heard about is real, and people still go there, even the forgotten ones.
Oh, so like
Rego gets ponders. Dan, are there gods? I haven't actually asked that question. I've been so preoccupied.
Well, I mean, of course there are gods. I mean, why wouldn't there be?
I did say
Except-
Dan, not Tan, but it's okay.
Well, like Reiko says that out loud. Tan's just going to respond with that. As a,
Cool.
yeah.
I mean, some of them would prefer to be referred to as greater spirits, or and other things. But for all intents and purposes, gods. Yeah.
But
Gotcha. By the way, I'm also new here.
yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. You look, like a human mostly. So
Mostly. What have I changed? I haven't noticed.
I'm sure.
I guess the better way is like I haven't seen anyone who looks quite like you before, but you definitely look like most people I've seen, as opposed to, no offense, but like a shadow guy and an owl.
Yeah, the longer you spend in limbo, the more aspects of yourself come to the fore physically.
So am I gonna like get claws or something?
Not necessarily.
No.
Also,
You want
once
claws?
you get everything settled out, you can just pass on to whatever happy hunting grounds that you deserve to go to. Things will be determined from there.
I'm pretty sure there are some nice clubs or things to take pictures of in the afterlife for you to indulge in.
Betty looks up at him and says, "Or you could turn into a dog and we could go running."
That is an option.
Okay, I'm still not used to that too. So
Drew was very nonplussed about being, kind of singled out for being an owl. So, regardless to say,
Great help in tracking you down. Like she really came through for you.
yeah, I guess in more ways than one.
Yeah.
I didn't think that you would wind up here at the same time as me. It's okay. All right, guess that's what she has to say about that. Okay. Hey. Yeah.
So, if you don't have any other further questions, I would like to start the interview process, so to speak.
Well, I guess this might be something that might come up during that, but so how'd I die?
That's actually a good question. We were going to ask you about that.
Oh man, I don't know. Okay. I remember was going out with Betty on our walk, and I just kind of felt things kind of get a little bit like, like when you stand up too fast and like the room starts spinning, and if you don't catch yourself, you fall over. It was like that. And I remember blacking out. And I do remember like a few weird looking things. Like there was like this office with like some people in it, but like some not quite people. I guess that must have been when I came through here the first time.
That sounds right, yeah.
And I remember it felt like my whole body just like ripping apart and like folding in on itself like at the same time. And then I remember just like man, I don't know. I guess the next thing I really fully remember is
Was there a
it's-
scream?
a scream.
Just idle curiosity. Was there like a scream or a screaming sound or sensation? That wasn't you?
Was there a blood curdling scream? You know, just really, really loud, like at the end of the title sequence for Ah Real Monsters. Was there something like that type of stock scream sound effect?
Hang on a second here. This is me out of character considering this. Because I know what you're referring to. So
Yeah, Jerome is kind of nodding along. He does remember some of the things that he discovered when they initially examined the area, especially the traces of magic that were there.
Right, traces of magic. That's a good point.
In particular, go ahead.
Oh, in response to your question, Reiko, Alex considers a moment. You can tell like that this particular part of it is really, really shaky. After some questioning in terms of getting details and stuff, it seems like he at least has flashes of when he was within Limbo, but everything from when he was the kind of corrupted, more monstrous spirit form is at best as if, you were dreaming it and then woke up from a nightmare kind of thing.
Right.
I was more mean like the part where he was ripped out.
In terms of anything that happened then, that's all that he can remember. He can't remember
Gotcha.
sights or sounds, just like that sensation was powerful enough that he remembers that. And then things only really came back fully when he woke up in this room. As far as you're able to tell, he did not seemingly hear the scream that you heard.
Gotcha.
The getting the getting lightheaded and then blacking out, does that correspond with any kind of mortal sorcery that I know about? I'm assuming that's going to be
I believe we actually covered that when Jerome did his initial identification of his spirit, and it was compared to like Ray of Sickness.
Okay. Never mind then. I did not remember that. Okay.
Or some similar effects, like would have been not particularly that spell, but something like that. Like he had been hit with something that like poisoned him, and then he died. So at this point, Jerome kind of like waddles over to Alanis. He gives Betty a pet. He's like, "I'm very sorry this has all happened to you. We've been having a bit of a string of these things lately, and right now we're trying to piece together what they might all have in common."
Huh. So this kind of thing's been happening to other people?
Like me.
Oh. Well, free will's a bitch.
Yeah.
Like free will was a mistake. In all honesty, they really should have patched that out a while ago. But here we go.
Okay. So is there like some sort of thing going on in Miami or something?
Oh no, it's worldwide.
That's
I don't
one of the hot spots. Yeah.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I died in Poland.
Jerome's like, "Oh look, don't worry, it gets even crazier." Right now, the only thing that that has been in common with multiple people is that they may have had some paranatural talents. For instance,
Sorry, can you say that again in like English or something?
Jerome looks at him kind of like.
Look, I got a pair of natural talents, but they're taking pictures and looking good in the pictures I take. So
Both true and you are true and you're correct on both accounts. We have the
thanks,
receipts for them.
Reiko's going to follow that up with an A and like, little pointy fingers.
That is relevant to something I want to talk to you about, but I'll wait for Jerome to work through what they need to discuss.
Jerome kind of ruffles his feathers a bit, like spins his head around when Reiko does the A. It's like,
I am trying to conduct serious business here, setting up his bulletin board with strings on it.
Just goes full Charlie
So
Day.
angry.
Full Charlie Day.
Well, yeah, he's like, okay, I'll be a little more basic here. We know at least 2 of the people involved had a special gift. Our friend Reiko here seems to have noticed us when we were in Poland on business while she was alive. And she's been
I am
developing her
open-minded about death.
gift. That could be what it is. And she's been developing that gift here. But while we were also investigating another murder in Cornwall, it appears that the artist there could see things that were from the world of, from our world. So I have
Sorry.
to ask you.
Oh. Go on, Tony.
Jerome's like, so I have to ask you, do you happen to notice unusual things or feel unusual sights? I said that weirdly. Feel unusual sights.
All right. So Alex thinks for a minute and he says, well, like I said, my abuela would sometimes talk about spirits. Actually, she'd try and say stuff like, "Oh, that you got to watch out for them," and talked about like how it's important to follow God's teachings so you get into heaven, that kind of thing, or you're going to be a wandering spirit forever. But she was kind of old. She was from Cuba. She would also tell us that like when she was a kid that she went up onto a mountain, got struck by lightning, and it let her see auras. So we didn't take everything she said seriously,
Yeah, fair enough.
But in terms of stuff that I've seen, I never seen like any ghosts or nothing. But I do remember that I guess it would have been a few weeks now, but I guess not long before I died, I did get this kind of feeling. Like I didn't see like ghosts or anything. It wasn't like I felt like I was being haunted or anything like that. I just had this like, that feeling like you get when you think you're being watched. It's kind of like that. I was even talking to my bro Eric at the club. He works there too. Well, I guess I worked with him, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I hear you.
You talk to them, you ask, why do I always feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone,
Oh, that's a song reference.
He looks at you and goes, "What's the Twilight Zone?"
that was not me as Tan and I saying that.
Okay.
The reverb's not on. That was not Tan saying that.
Okay.
I was
Sorry.
gonna say, we
Very well
rolled on
defended.
too long.
Oh, God.
But-
Now I'm going to go find that damn song by Golden Earring. Ugh.
I was not referencing Golden Earring, but is there a cover that
It's
they
the
did?
bone.
Oh, sweet. Anyways,
He said, like, oh man, you're not getting enough sleep, that kind of thing. But it wasn't just like a one-off thing. It kind of was lingering for a little bit. I just felt like there was something like over my shoulder for a while. But I don't know if that's the same thing you're talking about.
It could be, but not all gifts are the same. I do have another question. This one might seem a little odd. Were there any changes with your prescription medications shortly before you passed?
My prescriptions? No, I mean, like, I've been taking some medicine because look, I got allergies and pet hair kind of thing. It's not good if I am around pet dandruff, that kind of thing, for a while. So I gotta take it regularly. Otherwise, can't be around cats or dogs. And it was it kind of I thought that maybe like there was some sort of like reaction with that, because you know how it is. Sometimes like your medication stops working. After a certain point, you got to like up the dosage or whatever. I hadn't changed it though. But maybe that was like why I was feeling a little bit extra tired. If I was feeling tired, and that was why I was getting kind of paranoid. But hey, it's either you feel kind of drained from taking the allergy medication, or you can't have a pet, and I wasn't gonna do that.
Fair enough.
So as far as you know, they were the same. You got them from the same place, same
Yeah.
usual things.
Yep.
And but they didn't feel like they weren't working as well as usual.
No, they work just fine. But I'm just saying, like, maybe like my reaction to them was changing a little bit. Like maybe it was a bit extra draining, because I have had to like up the dosage like in the past because it hasn't been working as well, or like you need to like lower the dosage a little bit because the side effects are too much for you. But it had been like months, at least, since the last time that I'd done that. And I've been getting them from the same place since basically I started working at the club, which was I started there like about 2 or 3 years ago. Always got my stuff from the same place. So
Thank you. That may be helpful in the future.
all right, sure. Okay.
From just kind of like stroking his chin now, as he lets the others interact with Alex.
I'm trying to think here. Tan has 2 offers to make for Alex, so let's just get this ball rolling here.
You take the red pill and
So, Alex, I have a proposition for you at the very least. Perhaps if something that might make getting used to being in the afterlife a little bit easier, if you don't mind me offering this.
I mean, yeah, but I'll at least hear you out.
Well, there's a few places here within Limbo that think someone that just enjoys looking good and taking pictures of things can find some things to engage with that might reflect some of what your day-to-day activities were back in Miami. So there's ways we can at least find you things to do while you feel out where you want to ultimately be. But on those same notes about looking good in pictures and such, one thing that I personally like to work on is to help convey messages back to the world of the living for those that might be worried about where you are right now, and making sure that they are aware that that you are in a better place overall, or rather that you are in a good place and you aren't, somewhere where you're lost or afraid anymore. And I think for your case, it might be best to do this in something adjacent to your photography hobby.
Make a persuasion check for me, Skitch, with advantage.
All right. Let's see here. 24 to another 19.
It's a pretty damn good roll. Alex looks very clearly, openly, emotionally affected by this. And I mean, like he can tell that like you've done your like research into his situation in terms of like what was interesting to him and stuff. But you also hit on a number of points where it's clear that like not everything had fully settled in with him. And when you kind of bring up the points in terms of like the reality of what has happened to him and the consequences of what it means that he is here and not back in the physical world and he's not going back, you can see it kind of like hitting him in waves. And you know, at first it's like, you know, he's kind of like hesitant to say anything in reply. And then when he does start to talk, there's a few points where he kind of just like stops for a second. But he says, "Oh man, that's like that's really nice of you. You know, like I guess normally guys my age you'd want like, you know, like to like parents and stuff, but I don't really keep in touch, and
I was thinking more about your neighbors in the complex that you lived in, and maybe even some of the friends you had from the clubs and the like.
yeah, I guess they need to know what happened to me. Yeah. Yeah, man, that'd be really nice. Yeah, can I like get back to you on that? Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And-
If you
And
guys
there's a gentle, sad, understanding smile from Tan as you know they can sense that that Alex is getting pretty worked up over like that actually sinking in like that.
yeah, like yeah, if you can like I guess leave me your digits or whatever, however you guys keep in touch right around here.
I there's a place where I live, and honestly, once you're released from here and you're given some time to figure out where to go, it might be easy just to meet there. I have a feeling that the vibe of the community might resonate well with you.
He just kind of like nods as he's kind of pulling that face that people try and pull to not have a bigger outward emotional reaction.
See, if I wanted to be a real jerk, I would have been like, oh, also, Tan just happens to have like somehow has one of the pictures from when they're over in Miami, just hands that to Alex to give him a mentor. That would just be too much. That would push him over the edge.
You gonna cry? You gonna cry?
Oh, well, I'm gonna make you cry.
I use vicious mockery.
I don't even have that spell. I have mending and guidance. None of these spells have anything to do about making fun of people. What kind of bard am I?
What's the matter? What's the matter? You can't cry? I better mend your tear ducts.
Now you can. I'm gonna fix your emotional part of your cortex here. Let's go.
Boy, somebody, that sounds like a 7th level spell.
Yes. No, it's just mending, right? Let's fuse atoms together. Let's make
Yeah, because that's what bending can do. Yes, absolutely.
All right, Sarah. The amygdala is working properly now.
I would love to see somebody try to argue. I want to do nuclear fusion via mending.
I'm just over here going like I had no idea that Tan was a neurosurgeon.
Well, I mean, they're unregistered psychologists, effectively.
I guess
so,
I guess you could argue if you had a high enough crafting skill, maybe.
Well, too bad there's no crafting skills in 5th edition. Yeah, baby, let's go.
Probably for the best, honestly. In that one case, in this one case.
But But I will say, if anything, 10 will produce was effectively a business card that kind of points to the fulcrum effectively and hands that to Alex.
Roger, Dodger. And I think with that, I think that we have reached the emotional zenith of that scene. So I'm just going to call it there.
Reiko's
fair
absolutely going to break the tension, and as soon as he takes the card, she's gonna lean in and kind of, non-subtly go, "The phones here are old."
You'll learn.
No. They're top of the line from 1970.
Oh, come on. Maybe we're up to the 80s.
1970s technology can provide.
No.
carrying brick phones
There are
around.
personal computers. We have gotten up into the early 80s. You are correct.
Yeah, I was gonna say
You are correct.
Like you gotta wait till we get to the break-in boo.
If you're lucky, you might have an Apple II.
Listen, we have touch-tone phones with built-in answering machines.
Mm-hmm.
We do. Gideon doesn't. I mean, again,
But anyway, next scene.
As they're leaving, like Jerome's like writing a note. Put in good work with Opwash for Alexander Hernandez.
nice.
Okay. From there, Gideon, you're typing up your report. Yep. Once you are like, so what all do you want to make sure is covered in it? And
All right.
if
so
you just want it to be
no small part of this is also a way for Gideon to basically organize his own thoughts.
sure, that makes sense.
It's but largely what I'm covering right now is sort of there's the I imagine I got through the actual raw details of like the investigation in Cornwall and all that stuff, the basic stuff there fairly quickly. What's going to take time is how he wants to put down what happened after he went to go visit Davy Jones, and how much sort of like. See, okay, yeah. So, do I want to? How specific? How much do I want to sort of say what happened between him and Davy, and how much do I want to sort of gloss over? I went and talked to Jay. Went to talk to Reaper Jones, to Captain Jones. The rest of the office showed up later. We eventually convinced Davy Jones to help us in the investigation into the disappearance, and he informed us about the shark. And we went and talked to the shark, and here's what the sort of the rough outline of what the shark talked about, because there aren't really specifics from that you can go into.
Right. I mean, he didn't use a lot of specifics.
No, that's the point. Yes.
So,
yeah.
But Gideon will note down the inferences I mentioned during the last session, which all right. So it looks like the boss sort of nudged us in this direction, so that we could find out that something is going on around the fringes of somebody's monkeying about with the way death is supposed to happen, and that's not supposed to happen. So, right, that's something I'll probably have to investigate at some point, and I should get that down in record so that that's official. That's going to get investigated, and if they want to bump that up, change to someone else, that's fine. But please let me know.
Roger, Dodger. Okay. This is going to be a little bit unusual, I guess, in terms of how this is being utilized, but make a perception check for me.
Absolutely. All right.
And I think this will be a matter of time frame for you to notice.
Sure. All right. Yeah. I also, as note, due to the observant feat, I do have a passive perception of 16.
Right. Okay. So it won't be long either way. All right. This is, I think, going to be a matter of passive anyway, because it's going to be something that's taking place over time. So not too long after you actually turn in your report, where you make mention of this stuff, where you are quite fastidious and detailed and certain things, you are seemingly a little bit charitable to how your interactions with Captain Jones went down.
No need to throw him under the bus at the moment.
Even though he would deserve it. But,
sure. But there's a certain level of professionalism Gideon ascribes to.
Of course, you are required to take some editorial liberties in terms of the interaction with Edrash de Karasket, because it would be, as you have put it, kind of indecipherable if you tried to go into specifics.
Right.
So you include that in your report. you submit it. You send it in through, your the vacuum tube chute.
Yep.
You kind of wipe your hands of it. It's like, all right, back to work. I feel like we made progress. Let's keep on investigating stuff.
Yes. I will grab another one of the SNR files. Actually, no, I will grab Cynthia's SNR file and start going over it again.
Within the day that you have done this, you start to hear and see a little bit of a commotion having resulted from your report being received.
Oh?
Just in terms of, you said that your interpretation of events is that death themselves thinks that someone is trying to interfere in the way that death works.
More accurately, that's my interpretation of what Edric Saraset was saying.
Yes.
That I don't know if I believe it or not. That's not important. This is how he's what he seemed to be saying. Or it seemed to be saying.
And because you have put it that way and we're quite detailed in everything, no one is saying like, oh, Reaper Gideon, you're crazy or anything like that. You're saying like, no, I went to the ancient shark that is a precursor to the Reapers and he said some weird stuff and it seemed to be this. And it's like, all right, well, maybe you're misinterpreting it, but
it's entirely possible.
But that's still pretty crazy that was suggested even at all.
Yep. I would agree with that statement, actually.
Now, no one's like taking like deep actions on this. It's not as if someone, like gets on the horn and says like, oh, we need to investigate this further, or anyone says like, this is all ridiculous and dismisses it at all. Because of the way the information has been sent in to Central, it's just a matter of, well, this is some very weird and potentially concerning news. And that's just kind of it.
That's fine. I can accept that.
So the big thing is just that you have made Central aware of the stuff that you believe you have interpreted correctly.
Yes.
So there is that. Okay.
Just imagining like the response, like, all right, somebody bring that shark in. What do you mean we don't have a boat big enough?
You're going to need a bigger boat. No, no, bigger than that.
No. Stop trying to build one. You need a bigger boat.
No, what I'm saying is you're not bringing the shark in.
It doesn't feel like it. So, all right. In terms of other stuff that's going on now, I'm also going to say, start looking into some of the stuff that you learned from Denzel Trelawney, or even if you don't specifically look into it, because you have included this stuff in your report, some word gets around regarding that. And so the first thing that people kind of pop up with is, okay, who else has been killed by the Scuttlers? If there is a common thread here. Because, one of your leads was killed by this group. So, hey, well, that's kind of like the thing that is at hand is who else has been killed by them. And I will go ahead and tell you right away that the word that gets to you is unfortunately like, some people kind of like just kind of pull files and look into this stuff and don't really get anything promising, unfortunately.
I kind of expected not.
Right.
It seems as though Trelawney was an exceptional case. It's not like people are regularly killed to be shut up. At least in terms of this sort of ring, a lot of the people that have been killed by this group are much more like commonly it's a scuffle of some sort that takes place.
Right.
As opposed to someone needs to be taken out execution style in order to make sure that they don't know something. That is what you get just kind of in an immediate sense. Like that's something that gets back to you like the next day. Like, oh, by the way, this is the kind of stuff that we find out.
Excellent. Good. I can eliminate some stuff off. I can eliminate some possibilities. Good.
Another thing that comes to the group in general over this time, because at this point, in terms of how much time has passed in the campaign in general, it's been between about 2 and 3 weeks. And so, Jerome, you were keeping tabs on this stuff specifically. So you hear about this first, which is that the efforts in the physical world to search for Reiko have not been called off, but they are kind of all but officially being wrapped up, because the time frame is it's like, okay, if someone is lost in the mountains or in the caves somewhere for this length of time and we haven't found them and haven't found a trace of them, they're probably dead. And so just as a matter of like the resource being dedicated to the search are, considered by agencies at that point to no longer be worth it, because like, well, the person we're looking for is probably just dead. Right. So that is the first thing that you hear about in that regard. Around the same time, you start to hear word on how her loved ones are reacting to things. And it seems that there is a lot of concern right now because specifically Reiko's body can't be found, or Reiko living can't be found, because that for her family really throws a wrench into being able to actually hold a funeral. Just in terms of like Reiko's family, observes Buddhist burial rites. Well, not even burial rites, but funerary rites, and you're supposed to have a body for that. So her being missing has caused some turmoil there. But eventually, Reiko, you are contacted directly about this. It's someone from Central comes by and says, just kind of like in a very like matter of course way, just kind of presents you with like a parcel, gives you a nod, and after making sure that you've received it, and then just kind of turns and walks out.
Ooh, what's this? Open package.
There is a very formally written paper here that says that this is to inform you that of the time and place of your upcoming funeral in the physical world.
Huh. I guess I would get one of those. Wait, how are they going to do it? Wait.
So you are basically told of when it's going to take place, and there are instructions to follow in order to attend your own funeral, and there's like a list of rules to follow as well. But in general, it's a set of guidelines of like, this is an exceptional case because it is your own funeral, and it's a way for a lot of people to make that last connection before passing on.
Mhm.
And what you'll need to do if you want to attend it.
Reiko is actually a little bit surprisingly, like, not immediately all ooh and ah about this whole thing. It's just kind of like, hey, Gideon,
Yes.
I'm invited to my own funeral.
Huh. I suppose that has that happened very often as far as Gideon is aware of?
Oh yes, this is an
Fairly common?
incredibly common thing. To have
Yes,
happen.
that's a little later than it usually happens, from what I understand. But yes, it's fairly common here.
I imagine they can't find my body, which would complicate things.
Ah, Buddhist.
My family is.
That's what I meant.
You know me.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant the ceremony more than the ceremony's Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes. All right. Well, yes, this fairly common. Yes.
Hmm.
Do you wish to attend?
You know, I hadn't actually really put any thought into this. I have to admit. It's just been, well, one big wild ride, and I haven't really wanted to get off. But, well,
Well, it's not been very long since you've been here. I mean, it's only been what?
It's been about 3 weeks at this point.
No, the problem is 3 weeks is not a period of time that really registers very well with Gideon.
right.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm just clarifying that because
I know. That was me. That was in the character. It's been a period of time that is short.
Yeah, it's been about 3 weeks.
Yes, that is a short period of time. Yes.
Wait a minute. That means I haven't. Wait. I haven't spoken with my girlfriend in 3 weeks. Fuck.
Oh, I came back just in time for Reiko to have the realization. Nice.
Yeah, kind of a moot point. What with the whole being dead thing.
Well, it would present a challenge.
Yeah, at some point Jerome comes in, like, looking for Reiko, having heard about this stuff. And he sees the box. Like,
I do know that, you know, speaking with the living is a little challenging when you're dead, but technically, I guess not outside the entirely. I mean, you could talk to Tenenars about that.
I'm going to have to. I need to get Yuki to use my Ouija board.
Well,
Jerome's like, from what you've mentioned, is it Yuki? Yuki. Like I'll say that was a weird name. Like Yuki may not have even received an invitation yet. We may need to make sure she can attend.
well, if you need to get in contact with Tenenars and set things up and attend, you're of course more than welcome to do so.
Wait a minute. This means I get to give her an invitation via Ouija board. This is great.
Is it? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the way things work for mortals. At least not currently. What is Ouija?
Let's just say that it's let's just say that it is a form of invitation that is very me.
I will have to take your word on that. Ouija board. Is that the thing with the little triangular thing with the lens and the letters?
Uh-huh.
Huh. Those actually work?
They do when we're involved.
Fair point.
I don't want them to.
I mean, this is not the sort of thing I generally get involved with, so I'm not really that familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on the sort of intellectual sort of research level, sure, but, you know, not really my bailiwick as a reaper. Or this role now. Anyways, yes, yeah, please take whatever time for this you need.
Let me borrow your phone, please.
Sure, slide it over. I do apologize that it is one of those rotary dial things. I know that
Oh,
that is a little
she's using it.
it's a little inconvenient for some people. I understand.
Oh, like she takes to it immediately because she's like seen old movies and whatnot. It does, however, have the minor sticking points of being hard for me to vocally impersonate. So I'm going to cease attempting to do that.
Fair.
I tried to do that and I don't think it even registered. Anyhow. So yeah. Reiko is going to contact Tan.
Trying to think of what would be. I'm assuming after we kind of broke up for the prior thing, Tan went back to the fulcrum. So, so the important point I'm just going to throw in here as cat in here is that if you're calling a person, you don't call like the number, you just call the person, and then the nearest phone to them just rings.
It's an interesting idea, definitely.
Yeah, it makes things simpler.
I'll definitely take it under account. I think that's a neat idea.
I just think it's just a silly idea, especially because like they have cell phones and stuff, and like numbers that like those are arbitrary things of the living, you know. So like, but however, whatever contrives want to come up with, Tan does answer the phone with whatever phone is nearby them. Apparently, Hello, you freaks, Tananars. How can I help you today?
Hey, Tan. I need to invite my girlfriend to my funeral via a Ouija board. Can you help me out with that?
I just want to say that Reiko decided that she needed to personally invite her girlfriend to her funeral.
Yeah.
And B, she decided that it had to be through a Ouija board.
Well, I mean, it only stands to reason.
Dentelian.
We're going to have a talk about this.
I mean, how often does your girlfriend use the Ouija board?
That's up to you. I think that's up to you.
Oh, it's in my room.
There's still a little side, and Tan will just say it's like, you know where to find me. We can talk over at the fulcrum. It'll be a little bit easier.
Okay.
In terms of establishing how common it would be for Yuki to use the Ouija board, I don't know. How do you think Reiko and Yuki's relationship was in terms of how much Yuki would participate in the occult stuff, independent of Reiko's influence?
So, what we decided upon prior to, actually getting all this started is that, Yuki's focus and interests are very different from Reiko's, but she is supportive and, in for the whole thing, so much as, well, she's in for this and it's harmless, so it doesn't hurt to indulge her and it's a little fun anyway, so why not? As for doing it without Reiko, probably not unless she had a reason to do so. And I'm thinking what might be the case is is that she might hear wind of the funeral and not get an invitation herself or something.
Okay.
And that might give her cause to just kind of go to the ridiculously priced Ouija board that Reiko prized and use that just like kind of as in like kind of an emotional desperation kind of thing.
Made from white. It's all made from bird's eye maple and ebony.
Okay. Well, Reiko, you would know your girlfriend pretty well, so let me see how on the dot you are here in terms of your predictions on this. Okay. All right. So you're going to Tan to see if you can get in touch with your girlfriend via this Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right then. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Okay. I guess that does maybe. Okay, sure. All right. So you are going over to the fulcrum then. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You get to the fulcrum then. Tan, where do you think that you're waiting when she arrives?
Oh, probably just in the courtyard in the middle, as you know, as that's easy to access. You know, by the tree phone. You know, obviously the tree phone in there.
That's
yes.
like something right out of Get Smart.
Listen. Why bother trying to install underground wiring when there's roots already there? You know.
Oh my God, that's a very good point.
That's like just like right out of Get Smart almost.
I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like, oh, please tell me that the tree phone just has a bunch of shoes hanging from it.
No, that's ridiculous. That's over on the sheet. That's on the shoe tree. That's next to the tree phone.
Ooh.
The question is whether you got a cone of silence or not.
Well, that's what it's called the dunce cap. It doesn't actually do anything, but we just tell that as people as a code of silence, and we see how long they go without saying anything. I just got him.
All right. All right. Well, Tan, you're hanging out by the tree phone. Your friend Arbor, who is the clockwork tinkerer, is kind of working on one of their contraptions nearby.
Arbor's with the tree, huh?
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, it's tea time by the tree time. You know, that's we're just I was gonna say a tea phone would have been also where the teapot just rings, you just pick it up and it's a phone. That's some Get Smart logic right there.
Change places.
I mean, there's a lot of tree named people here anyway. So,
but yeah, like the Arbor and Tan are sitting at a table, just near some trees and stuff, and Reiko can see them easily when she approaches. And the floor is yours to make your entrance. So,
all right. So yeah, Reiko will arrive, and as is tradition, she cannot walk through the fulcrum without her outfit changing, without her realizing it, because good grief, these weavers and clothiers are incredibly efficient.
yeah.
And had a lot of time on their hands.
You had a pretty comfy outfit on before, and now you've got one of those dresses where like the sleeves kind of both stop at the elbows and start at the elbows, as in like they kind of like stop extending out the sleeve there, but they also drape down to like 3 times further away. So.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. With bridal gauntlets. Yeah, and looking as she does, she will approach Tan and just kind of have a sit down.
I wasn't sure when this topic was going to be broached, but I guess now is just as good of a time as any. So,
Well, you know, it's been fun, so it kind of got away from me.
I'm not sure if what I was doing with Alex earlier might have spurned some thoughts about it as well, but yes, the reaching out and connecting with those that still live is a delicate process, and more to the point, it's kind of a matter of, you know, what the purpose of making the contact and what we're trying to accomplish when we do that. You said you wanted to invite your girlfriend to your own funeral using an Ouija board, is what you said.
Yeah, my parents are Buddhist, and like, there's got like all these things, and technically she's not part of my family, and blah 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 blah. And I never really followed on with their whole thing, but that's how they're going to play it. So like, if she's going to go, and she should go, because I'm going, then she's going to need encouragement to get by them going no. And they're going to try to say no indirectly. So,
Well, okay, well, I would say the following. First and foremost, the fact that you don't have as strong a feeling towards your parents, neither here nor there, as we saw with Alex earlier, you know, the way that I specialize, it doesn't really matter who you're trying to communicate back to. I think it's important just to remember how this might land on them. I mean, how do you think your girlfriend will react if they are suddenly told that you're dead all of a sudden and they weren't prepared for that?
I mean, she's got to learn it sometime.
Well, of course, but but
God damn.
yes, they have to learn at some point. But the way I operate is through a gentle touch, just saying via Ouija board, quote, "Hey babe, I'm dead. Come to my funeral at," you know, may get the message across, but it might also cause other unintended consequences that are undesirable for either you or Yuki.
Just a fucking message from the beyond with all the wording and directness of a casual text. Like,
Listen, knowing you probably have an Ouija board that's all lowercase letters or something. And
it leaves room for the emojis.
How uncultured do you think I am? I paid good money for this Ouija board.
It's custom made. But
It's not custom made. It's antique. It's not antique.
There's no such thing as an antique Ouija board. I'm sorry. It was invented by Parker Brothers.
The 60s at this point counts as antique.
Okay, that's a good point.
But if, let's recognize that the immediate response, Tan does have a follow-up to what they just said. But you can respond if you want to that.
Excuse me. Well, the way I figure it is, since it's an unknown and they're, on where my body is, and that's why it's taken so long for all of this to get going and yada, 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 yada. Like, my parents never really approved of my relationship or my lifestyle or any other things. And so I imagine that they would probably be content with just never telling her, like, at all. So if she's got to learn it, then it should be from me.
I would never suggest anything otherwise. I'm just thinking through my head the best way to convey what we want as efficiently as possible, because the more that we try to communicate, the more difficult it becomes to do it delicately, both emotionally and logistically. That's part of the line of work I've developed for myself here. So I'm trying to think of, okay, we need to convey that you're dead, that there's a funeral that you want Yuki to go to, and probably you should probably let her know how you're just doing because you have the ability to tell her how you're doing.
Oh, I was gonna do that from the start. Like, this has been great.
I mean, it's been great for you, but what about for Yuki when she realizes that she won't be able to see you until she passes?
You know, I was going to have that moment later.
Well, this is what happens when you come to me about this situation right now. We don't know how many chances we'll have to convey these things, so we got to make sure to hit as many points as possible. So we don't need to answer all those questions immediately, but and I will say this.
For
I don't know.
Nick,
As yo,
if you can do me a favor, because the thought has occurred to me and I think it may occur to Reiko. If you can just make a flat intelligence check for me. I know it's not one of your best stats, but
yeah, I'll do one of my lower deals.
I'm gonna say that during. I'm gonna say. Let's see let me follow the page here. I'm gonna assume that guidance is active for this because in this case, Tan is actively helping Reiko along with it. Actually, no. Let's double down on this. Guidance and inspiration on this.
Ooh.
all right.
So that's
you're
a
gonna...
D4. That's a bonus D4 and a bonus D6 on top of that.
Ooh, dang.
All coming up ones.
I mean,
really
I mean,
glad-
it's. I mean, if anything,
There
it's
is a 1 in 24 chance of that happening. Yes.
I mean, it's. If anything,
Or not.
okay, it's a 4. All right, and then let's see what the D6 gets. Okay, 16 now.
That's. I mean, that's a full tier of success above it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
No,
I would say, despite like Tan being like a little stuffy about the attitude, given the fact that Reiko is actually breaching this topic with Tan as opposed to Tan having to do it the other way around, I would say that Reiko can tell that Tan has sort of shifted from their aloof attitude to sort of a very serious attitude.
Business
about
mode is
helping her.
engaged right now, and
Yes.
Reiko can
Okay.
see it.
I'm very glad that Rika went to Tan about this because she had gone to Jerome. Jerome would have been like, okay, well, I need to break in if you need me to help you.
Yeah,
He just like starts putting on the ski mask.
and in all this,
Reiko, carry my bulletin board.
and to flavor all this, Tan will add one little last note saying, I will say though, in terms of ways to communicate with the person you want to talk to, an Ouija board is a good idea, and so I do want to lean on that angle.
If you'd come to Dentalian about this, it would have been like, Ouija board, come on, we can do a much better flair than that. I have a plan.
I mean, you
You want
do
to
know.
scare the shit out of her or leave her weeping? Because those are your two options.
I mean, Dantalion has been established to have a contact in the physical world who can talk to spirits. So,
But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like that can be a later idea.
I'm going to offer a suggestion here, which I think is appropriate given the fact that Reiko has come to Tan for a line of suggestion that is his profession. And Skitch, you have hit on the point of why you need to be precautious in terms of how and why you take someone into the world living and communicate with a loved one, and are stressing that precaution. And I will say that maybe as you go along this line of thinking, that it may occur to Reiko that there might be a difficulty in you having to directly tell Yuki about all of these things, but you do have a common group of friends that might mention it to her, and she could at least learn about the funeral that way without you having to tell her that yourself.
One thought that's coming to mind is, what is the risk of being in the physical world around people that you have a more strong connection with, and that possibly causing some unintended consequences? kind of like with what happened with, to some degree, with Alex in Miami. It's sort of
Yes.
Not
like
to
Tan,
mention,
Tan, you know this for a fact and are very, very familiar with it,
Yeah.
that it is much more difficult for someone to directly interact with people that they know or knew in life in the physical world after they have passed. And that is why it is necessary for you, Jerome, the Reapers and stuff to assist in these kinds of matters.
Mhm. Yeah. And and Tan will kind of convey some of these points and probably the back and forth with Reiko, just like it like there'll even be a point where I think Tan even just says like, honestly, the idea is incredibly sweet. I would say it almost feels cinematic. You know, you can picture a person moving the Ouija board object and then your hands guiding their own. Unfortunately, getting that close to someone that you care about can cause problems if we're
Problems?
not. Yes,
Like what? What kind of problems are we talking about here?
like what happened with Alex. Yeah, there's a possibility that a breach from the afterlife to the physical world can happen. There's a haunting of sorts. There's things that can happen outside of your control because you're basically operating outside of where things are supposed to work from. So that's one of the reasons why the line of work I do, I tend to be the message bearer, even if the person has the capacity to pass along with me. That because I don't have emotional attachments to the people I'm talking to, I have lower risk in terms of my being affected by the world around me.
this might have been something that Jerome also brought up with Yuki when he and she had that little powwow session where they were working out her abilities and talking about
With Reiko, I think you
With
mean.
Reiko, right?
Yes, Reiko.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
Yes, Reiko, and like just like you need to be careful about this in the world of living. Everything's controlled,
Mhm.
with emotion.
Yeah.
And if you
And-
lose control, something bad can happen.
And Tan just sort of has a little bit of a sad look on their face as usual, just like, yeah. I apologize if this bit of news is not what you were expecting to hear, Reiko, but I think we could still work off of your idea, but the exact method of delivery might require a delicate touch to make sure that we don't have unintended consequences for you as much as anyone else. I mean, think about it from this standpoint. If you go over there and something way bad happens, you will still be dead, but you won't be able to engage in the afterlife as you are right now. It may require extra work. It may cause collateral damage to those that you care for that still live.
I get what
This
you're
is-
saying, and I don't disagree. I don't know though.
Like I said, I think your idea is good. I think we can make it work. I think we can curve out the path to convey to Yuki to go to the Ouija board and then convey the message we want to through there as well. But it's not as simple as just we go over there, we shoot a phantom text message, and then we, do the do as we were there. It's unfortunately not that simple. And usually the reaction from most in the afterlife would just be, well, then we're not going to convey anything. But that's why I do what I do, because I want to do what I can to help make sure that those on the other side are comforted and not worrying and can be more at peace with things. And I think that's what you want for Yuki as well, right?
You're not wrong. So, here's my problem. Everything that you said makes perfect sense, and I agree with you, and rationally I understand that that is the best thing to do and all of that other jazz. However, This is an opportunity for me to be a spirit that conveys a message from the afterlife to my girlfriend. And this has been a dream of mine forever. And she would not let me live it down if I were to go against my principles in this crucial juncture.
Are you willing to risk being out, losing control of your incorporeal body for eternity?
I wouldn't be a very good researcher if I wasn't willing to make an experiment or two.
Yeah, I've got tentacles.
I believe that Marie Curie has a few things to say about that. but to that point, like I said, I guess my position is this. I think that moment might be possible. I think we need to develop the skill to do that to that extent. My point is,
Do we have the time to do that?
well, maybe not before the funeral, but you can continue to communicate with Yuki after the funeral. I think there might be a way, with some time, where we can figure out the safest way for you to do that type of direct communication with a person that you personally care for in the world of living without adverse effects. And I think that is a beautiful aspirational goal. But if we do it too hastily, we do it too recklessly, then you risk being unable to be with Yuki in any capacity in any afterlife.
So I'll be
If I'm
real.
saying if I'm saying anything that is like not canonically correct,
No,
Oh, Skitch, you have been so helpful to me. Making my job so much easier by not having to relate all this stuff.
Like,
No, we're on. Very
like
similar
let me
wavelengths
let me
here,
continue
so.
in character over here. I was
Yes,
in
go ahead.
charactering. What was I even doing? I lost my place.
Sorry.
So I'll be real. I think it would be incredibly shitty of me to expect her to go. I don't know how long she's gonna go. Let's be optimistic. 80 years. And never get any. So I was just gonna say go ahead.
I was talking more about being with her in sort of the standpoint of your body will not be able to go on to any point in the afterlife anymore. I'm talking you threatening your incorporeal being over this. Dying the
A little
dying.
column A, a little column B.
Well, you know, polyamory is a thing, so I mean that's it.
Well, yes, I know.
So, but
Like, I want to make sure that she understands that.
yeah, yes, of course. But you understand what you understand what I'm saying here. I'm saying that we should communicate this before the funeral. The way we communicate it may not involve as much you directly in control of the situation as you may want. But I think there's a way we can get to having a proper final goodbye, effectively, a final send-off or something with proper preparation and consideration.
Can we make it clear that I'm operating through a proxy for the first run until I figure out how to do it safely?
Absolutely. I mean, that...
Fine.
Yeah. Normally...
As long as it's clear that it's not me directly. It's indirect. As long as that's clear.
Listen, I will be the telephone that is on the receiving end there, and I'm just there to communicate you through me as well as we can, and do it as delicately as possible. Generally, when I do my work, the goal is to impose, as the person communicating, your unique case, Reiko. And I want to make sure to handle your case as respectfully as I would anyone else's.
Thank you.
I apologize if this
What
is
do I
not
even
quite
do
the
now?
answer. What do we do
Like,
now?
no. Like, I didn't think it was going to be so simple. So,
Well, for the time being,
at least the
I
core
think-
idea works.
Oh yeah, I think the core idea is cute. I mean, if my idea would be, what if we could somehow make the Ouija board somehow have a point of communication to here that's more direct, but I don't know what would be the best way to handle that. Almost treat it like a sort of between worlds sort of communication device in a more regular basis, but
Wouldn't that be a protocol violation?
yes, almost certainly. Which is why as romantic as that idea is, one, I would not actually recommend we do it. And two, if anyone did it, you better hope they don't tell anyone else what's going on. You know, Gideon would probably be under some hot water if that happened. If also Gideon could feel heat the way that they did before.
Fair.
It'd probably take about 50 years, but then he'd kick my ass, yeah.
I want to imagine that like this situation's happened sometime in the past, and Tan just kind of knows that these things are floating around.
I think the bigger point here is just like, again, the difference between is that most people plan to sort of move on to the afterlife and have this final goodbye, and that's not Reiko. Reiko's a different case in many ways. But Tan just sort of smiles gently and then offers a hand to Reiko for a handshake on this.
Shake.
All right. Well, in any case, you want to pick up something here before I probably should head over back to the office with you and talk about our next overall course of action. But if you want to pick up something, food or clothing-wise, I'm sure you'll get something put on you on the way out.
Oh, I already got something on the way in. If I get something on the way out, that means they're working overtime. And they need to take a break.
Honey, honey, you responded too positively when they did this to you the first time. They're not gonna. This is not overdrive for them. This is fun. You'll have to understand.
That's the joke.
All right. And scene.
All right. Excellent.
I really like the idea of like a devices that can do like person-to-person calls between like emotionally invested people. I'm like, okay, maybe this is what like Harry Houdini's phone was like.
Basically, so here's the thing. Okay, you basically need to set up 5 VPN. It's basically VPNs or virtual. They're VEPNs or virtual emotional proxy networks to make things more dispassionate between the sender and receiver, so things don't go far awry.
Wow.
And that's what you need.
So that's a monotone voice.
Yeah, Horde VEPN. You know, just got to sign up for that service there.
Why don't we talk to our friend the giant shark, and then we can just be on Surfshark?
No, bad, no.
Yeah, but I will say that this is an interesting project to go over. Like, could we somehow have an actual communication thing between Reiko and Yuki that is like somewhat permanent but safe until Reiko can do the big risky thing and try to go directly in person, and then the final arc happens or something.
This
Oh boy.
This might be something to bring up with Jerome. I think with his more arcane background, as it were, he would probably have some ideas. Like I have some ideas what we could do with this. And like that actually could be a interesting future session.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So I will let you know that as is pretty standard for when the departed receives this kind of notice, you've got about a week before the funeral. The funeral is going to take place, about roughly a month after Reiko's disappearance, which is again pretty in line with Buddhist traditions to hold a ceremony within 30 days of the death, or in Reiko's case, suspected time of death, because no one's really very 100% certain on this in her case. So you have a week in order to hatch your plan if you're going to do something to try and communicate to Yuki and make sure that she attends Reiko's funeral.
Right.
Since you have so Jerome is aware of this, Dentalion and Gideon also were just present when Reiko got this notification, and you let them know about it. So I guess in general, what do you guys want to do about like either this situation in specific, or like anything in general beyond that?
Okay.
Well, someone's still doing weirdness in Miami,
Oh, yeah.
and
That is definitely going to chew apart but that what Eric's talking about is definitely going to be chewing up about half of Gideon's brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can very safely assume that you're trying to put out feelers and get what information you can related to this stuff. I mean, you did already, it's similar in regards to like when you kind of did your cross-referencing for strange disappearances and then weird incidents associated with them. You're trying to put out get the analysis together now that you've got some more information on potential locations and people that are involved in this situation.
I just had a horrible idea, Nick.
All right.
In regards to all of this, Gideon, you feel free to veto this, but it's an idea that literally just popped in my head. But there almost certainly will be in some way. This is sort of what I'm thinking. A really badly made sort of stilted, paint sort of awkward to watch PSA thing on how to safely attend your own funeral thing.
And it's on VHS,
Yes,
and it's incredibly
exactly.
and
No, it's not on VHS. It's on film.
it'd be beta.
It's on film reel.
Film reel. Oh boy.
Gideon is currently, but by the time Reiko returns, Gideon has in fact set up the 8mm film projector. He's got a screen, and with that PSA all loaded up in it for Reiko.
Are we going with that? We're not just going to do like friggin' film strips like for when we were in school there, Peter?
Attending our own funeral.
No, this is a 1950s era PSA, obviously.
Okay.
Oh, I actually had a different idea. I was thinking back. It'd be like, okay, so the star of the film strip should be Phil Hartman. You'd be like, "Hi, I'm Phil Hartman."
No, this
You
got
remember
to
me from such characters as Troy McClure.
No, this has got to be like public domain era, PSA stuff. Just
So like it's like your like your body and you. So well, Jimmy, you died.
Well, there's your body, Jimmy.
exactly.
Well, Jimmy, you died. This is your body, and while it decomposes off camera, we're going to talk about what happens to you in the afterlife. But mister, how do I know where I'm supposed to go? That's for you to decide, or for us to decide. Who knows? The rules change arbitrarily.
Morality and religion have complicated this matter since time immemorial. But while you're trying to figure that out, what's happening to your body in the real world? Well, depending on traditions your loved ones follow, they might just dump it in a ditch, or they might, do a nice thing where they dump it in a nicer ditch, or they'll set it on fire, or something like that. In any case, this is a very big situation for anyone's life because it's the end of your life, and everyone wants to say goodbye to you in their own special way. Wouldn't you like to be there for it? Well, okay, so
exactly, Nick. But yeah, Gideon will sort of have that sort of like, oh yeah, I was given one of those PSA thingies. Then tell you, do you remember where the film projector is?
He's got more than one film strip. One of those for spiritually transmitted diseases.
Wow.
Yes, pulling out a dusty 8mm film reel.
Well, Billy, you may have noticed your body's going through some changes now, as in you don't have one anymore. Well,
I just like the idea.
no, I'll run with it. Yeah, sure. So
it's a good idea.
it's standard. It's standard viewing as far as Gideon is concerned. So, Reiko, when you get back to the office, your friends very kindly.
Reiko, I found a film you should probably watch in regards to your funeral.
A film?
Yes, I
have
believe it is
those?
a. Well, yes, he points to the 8mm film projector. And
Oh
these,
boy,
and
when
these
you
screenings
said
for-
film, you meant film. I see.
Yes. I believe you're supposed to eat popped corn with this in some way, shape, or form, but sadly, I do not have any.
It's not popcorn. It's popped corn.
That's
It's
what he
corn
said.
that has been popped.
That's
Yeah.
what he
And,
said. And Reiko just kind of like checks her non-pockets and it's just like, shit, I knew I forgot to pick something up.
Anyways, I did find that this, I believe it's called a public service announcement film
Oh, goody. This ought to be
on
entertaining.
how to attending your own funeral safely. I thought it'd be educational.
oh gosh, a post-mortem service announcement. That's what it is.
I mean, basically, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, post-mortem service announcement, yes.
Okay, so there's a problem with this because you could consider that a PMSA.
There's a reason I'm not using that term.
Wow.
It's like that just occurred to me, and I'm just like, hang on.
No, we're not calling it that.
Please no.
Yeah. Inexplicably, it features George Bernard Shaw. And
The immortal Keanu Reeves.
so, yeah, you are given a basic rundown, Reiko, of attending your own funeral. A big thing is that there's a big exception that comes in terms of spirits being present in the physical world, because it would be very difficult for you to occupy a physical proxy body while attending a funeral, because people would be like, well, who is this person who is inexplicably here?
What's your name?
Right, how did you know, etc. So you have to be in a spirit form for it, and normally there is a big time limit for it. So you're essentially going to be momentarily tethered to someone who can occupy the space on a more permanent basis in their spirit form. Would usually like a
So I'm haunting
reaper
someone.
kind of, yes, but you're haunting another spirit. Essentially, you need to be like accompanied by at least one other person, so that you don't risk dissipating or devolving in some form because you're in the physical world for too long.
Can I just say, like, out of character, that sounds like the biggest fucking downer, that for the last party regarding your life, you have to be chaperoned.
Yep.
For your own safety.
Ugh.
It's presented exactly that cheerfully in the PSA.
This is what this is
No,
why
it is.
this is
I
why
was
Rico is going to choose Dan Talion to be the person she tethers onto, because Dan's just gonna get wasted.
I just like that notion. It's just like, oh man, I gotta go to the school dance with a Reaper.
I'm going to say that, like,
Talk about the
whole
death
thing
of the party.
like the thing in there in the PSA about like the chaperone and everything else. This is genuinely the first time any of you have seen Reiko frown.
Fair.
Well, unfortunately, we've been just big old buzzkills for Reiko, unfortunately, the past hour here.
I mean, your own funeral is probably going to be a pretty big buzzkill.
Not for Reiko.
I mean, she likes being dead, not going through the bureaucracy.
Well, that's all that your coworkers do.
That's different.
But it's not bureaucracy that's the bureaucracy is not being inflicted on her currently.
Yes. She gets to be the bureaucrat. Be the bureaucracy.
Reiko, you'll be a bureaucrat.
Be the bureaucracy you do not want to experience.
I am Bender. Please insert girder.
That being said, yeah, she probably would actually pick Dantalion
Oh yeah.
as the
I would say I would say that is the correct choice out of the
the-
four of us.
as the anchor, I suppose.
I would say Gideon is probably the worst choice of the four of us.
Tad is gonna be too. Tad, if Tad was there, he'll be too busy going to the food bar and just trying to see what the food they have there at the funeral. Yeah, just not be off topic there.
Oh, I'm gonna get hammered. Don't worry.
Not without return to the Reiko. You're not.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of like letting you guys dictate what happens for a little bit here, especially because
That is totally fair. Other than the movie viewing, lacking the popped corn, unfortunately. The only other thing I can think of that Gideon would be doing now is looking. The other thing is that now that since Tan is here, that's actually going to be a big help. Actually, for what I'm going to next is well, I'm looking at the SNR for Cynthia here. I'm hitting an obstacle that I'm not entirely sure how I can get around. Fortunately, I have a suspicion that Dan, you and Tananars, you two might be better suited for you might be better at how to approach the next stage of figuring out what happened to Cynthia and what we can figure out where she is.
Cecilia.
Cecilia, that's it. Yes.
Just making sure.
Yeah, Cecilia. I forgot the name.
We invented a new case out of wholesale. You know,
Yeah.
just like
Cecilia.
That's one less I have to make up.
Yeah, fair.
So what are you thinking there?
Well, the problem I'm having is that it's sort of venturing into into aspects of the mortal world I am entirely unfamiliar with. And you two have a better connection to the arts at a minimum than I do. Yeah. Like, give me a direct sort of chain of evidence to follow, and I'm good. But this is not in my bailiwick at the moment, I think. So I would appreciate any and all suggestions you two might have. Avenues of investigation and such, because I'm at a loss.
Gideon's asking Tan and Reiko.
No, Tan and Dan.
Tan and Dan. Yeah.
Tan and Dan.
Yeah, Tan and Dan, which will eventually become a cocktail at the Fulcrum if they hang out there together at some point. There, the Tan and Dan.
I mean, yeah, that sounds like one.
So that's
right.
that's half Fireball whiskey. What's the other half?
Anyways, moving over here.
Oh no, that's obvious.
let's-
It's Fireball whiskey and Guinness. I mean, come on.
Let's go over to the chalkboard and just Tan pulls it out, gives Dan a piece of chalk, and so they can just sort of like draw out some things to figure out.
Yeah, there's almost
where to go
certainly
next with
there's
this.
almost certainly actually a chalkboard.
Yeah, not a whiteboard,
So-
chalkboard.
Absolutely.
So Cecilia was an artist working in Cornwall, where we had the weirdness, some of the weirdness. Do we know if any galleries are showing her shit? Is the first question.
I will look for that. See if there's any information in the SNR about that.
She was certainly due to have an exhibition at some point. Her disappearance definitely complicated that.
Yes, I would imagine.
Sorry.
I mean, there's probably some galleries out there in general where some of her art is up.
Right,
Because
right. Does she have a relationship with any particular gallery or dealer?
Ooh, interesting. It's gonna be give me some investigation checks.
Sure, I will happily do that.
Let's
A reminder again,
do
due to
that.
my observant feat, I do have a passive of 19.
Okay.
If it applies as a passive, yeah.
Wrong. That was the wrong character sheet to roll from, but that was a natural 20. It's the same number on both character sheets I had open there.
Roger.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you rolled a natural 20, Skitch, so cool.
Tanner's just on all cylinders this session here.
Yeah, you quickly are able to flip through some stuff and find, just kind of like from the general history that is available, that first off, there was obviously like a place in the town that she was living in rather, towards the end of her life, that would regularly feature her art. So she would definitely have a good relationship there. But there was also a gallery that she had that she would regularly have stuff put up in London as well.
Okay.
London. Yeah.
Next question.
That's
We are down to two important galleries. Any kind of controversies surrounding these galleries?
ooh, interesting.
I mean, controversies that might apply to what's going on. There are always controversies with galleries.
Yes. So if you're specifically talking about, like, conspiracies and murder kind of stuff, nothing in that regard. That's an interesting approach to this. So give me a second here.
Well, given the generally spooky nature, also any like rumors or anything about like occultism or weird happenings in the gallery.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cecilia is not the first artist that's been targeted in this way. It's entirely possible there's a one of these galleries just kind of got a reputation for displaying the art of dead artists that are in this fashion.
Oh gosh, I just had a thought. What if there was like a art auction like scheme being run where they wanted to artificially inflate the value of the works by having a dead artist?
Yeah, I don't know where I would have come up with that idea. Exactly the angle I was approaching it from.
Yeah.
It always comes back to capitalism. Damn it!
It all goes back to crony capitalism, also known as capitalism.
I mean, some of these are some very specific suggestions that I can, because of the specificity of them and the high role associated with this investigation, I can fairly safely say, no, you don't find evidence of that specifically. I mean, you guys are pretty certain at this point that there is something going on, but it doesn't seem to be that. In regards to if the art galleries were doing something untowards, the local gallery, you don't find anything in terms of that. They seem, in terms of the kinds of organization it would have to be, pretty squeaky clean. It's
not even like your basic money laundering.
At a local town's gallery.
It happens.
It happens with artwork, I understand, yes, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
All right. Wow. Wow. an honest gallery.
I mean, it seems all indications you see are that she did them like some huge favors because of her reputation, and brought them a lot of really good business because they got to claim like, this is a fairly well-known art who is from our town. You can come here and look at some of her work. Brought them quite a bit of attention, not just to that business, but to the town as a whole. So no, you don't find any indications that there was any sort of art forgery or tax write-off stuff associated with that one. You do see that kind of thing happening at the London location in terms of like it's a much bigger kind of gallery and a much more populous as well location. So it definitely has not been free of controversies. And one thing in particular you do find is that it seems that there has been some under the table selling of artwork that was, especially in a lot of cases, like meant to be just kind of publicly available artwork, and private collectors made some under the table dealings in order to acquire it.
Gotcha.
Is that a more satisfactory answer for you in terms of what nothing happened?
No, that makes perfect sense. Okay, cool. So all right. So yeah, the whatchamacallit is squeaky clean. What about the other one? The one in London.
The London location. Yes, that's the one that I just went over.
Okay. Sorry.
There was some under the table stuff going on there at some point, it seems.
Okay. Sorry, I just totally lost focus.
No, it's okay. I mean, I've kind of not been sure where you guys were gonna be wanting to go on this one, so I've kind of had to roll with it.
Okay.
So,
Given what we know about Cecilia, would you be offended by this, especially if it was her own work going under the table?
Let me give you an insight check.
Can I roll deception instead?
No. You're asking me what the opinion of a
Well,
person.
all right
that you've
then.
never met
Oh,
would
or I can just do that. Okay.
All right. Well,
Not 21. All right.
That's two times.
Why did I even ask you to make a roll? All right. So, I mean, you definitely get the impression that, if an artist valued their work and put a lot of work into it and had intentions for it, and then those intentions were not followed, and something else was done with it purely for the sake of someone making money, and it was done under the table without her permission, without her knowledge, that she would probably be, definitely upset about that. I think that a lot of artists would be.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, a lot of artists are also just happy to get paid, but yeah, good to know. She was also
You have gotten. I'll tell you this, that from what you have been able to see, I mean, look, you don't, from the information you have about her, it has been kind of secondhand stuff from like news articles, occasional interviews, and that kind of thing. But from being in her space and seeing the kind of stuff that she would do, and seeing the kind of consistency of her work in terms of her approach to things, it definitely was a thing where she was obviously grateful for her success, but it was something that she did because she was passionate about it. And so she took pride in what she would create. And so that would be a disrespect to her work to instead treat it as a financial commodity. And also one that, she didn't get any benefit from being treated that way.
Right. Okay. So she may have found out and made a stink and they offed her. Although this is
Why go to such effort to hide the body then?
yeah. Gallery has like magical practitioners running it. It's not unheard of. Gallery owners are weirdos, so
I mean, we could go on site and just investigate that ourselves.
yeah, we could just go to the gallery and check it out. Which is more work for Nick.
Well, I actually like Jerome's like, okay, at this point, like Jerome's just been sitting here, he's like, well, if we need to get access to the gallery, I do have Cecilia's painting.
You what?
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, Jerome. What?
I may have taken a souvenir from the house, but
Aha!
this is fortuitous for us because now we can do an art sell of this painting.
You scallywag! I knew I
Jerome,
loved you.
he's just fanning himself. He's like, he's very nonplussed. Like, oh yes, thank you.
It's like you
Nonplussed is
sinister.
agitated.
It's like you sinister, conniving, handsome individual. What could you?
Jerome, if I may ask, why?
Well, the painting is of me.
Ah.
It was
so
evidence.
of you
I had
when
to
you
see
were
it.
so are you? Did you sit for her as a model or something?
Not to my knowledge, but apparently she saw me last time I was in Cornwall, and there was that whole kerfuffle. You know how they gave
Oh,
me
the
that,
one you were
that
just
dressing down.
the incident you discussed earlier. Ah,
Yes.
I see.
So I took the.
So
I mean,
that's what you meant by she might have been able to see things that are actually there. I get it. Ah, aha. And you
Yes.
and you were removing that as evidence of your being in. I see. Ah, that makes much more sense. There is paperwork you need to fill out for removing evidence of your presence in the physical world, though. You do know that, Jerome, right?
Yes, you got to do things by the books.
yes,
Reiko,
but
Reiko rifles through her desk really quickly, finds a paper, and just presents it to Jerome.
Jerome's just like, oh, we'll worry about this later. He just kind of crumbles it and throws it over his shoulder. The point is, we have a piece of her
Insight
work.
check. I don't buy that. Passive insight.
Well, I was just like when the painting's thrown, it just like shatters like the
Well,
sound of shattering glass happens.
Not the painting; it was the paper that Reiko handed.
Oh, the
her.
paper gets thrown. The sound of shattering glass happens.
You just like the paper's the ground. It's just like thunk, thunk in slow motion.
So, but if it's a painting of you in your current form, and it's evidence that you're present in the real world, wouldn't returning it to the real world cause issue then?
Only if we leave it there. As I said, we're only using this as a way to get in. We don't have to leave it there. We could just take it with us.
Oh, so you bring it with you to offer to sell it, and then don't sell it.
Yes.
I see.
Oh boy. Okay.
I had no idea this was going to happen, but I'm so glad this weird plot thread I did is paying off.
This is the same kind of nonsense of I'm going to program a computer virus to kill this ancient like pre-Sith thing. Oh, wait, that's the final boss.
Well, I suppose we can arrange for. I suspect that if you want to present it and sell it, you will need a false body for that.
That's not too much of an issue.
No, it's
This would
not.
be
I'm just saying,
business.
we just need to requisition it. That's all. That is not an issue. All right. I guess we can arrange for another trip back to Cornwall. I guess.
Well, this would be London, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
London. Very well. A larger city, easier to blend into. That's a plus.
We're going to need a car this time.
Ah. Yes. I assume one of you knows how to drive.
Everybody looks at Rico.
Reiko was not a rich woman in life, and she lived in Japan, which has fantastic public transportation.
So probably not actually. I'm guessing.
No.
I'm guessing Dentelli knows how to drive, just not modern cars per se.
Yeah, that's sort of the same thing with Jerome. As well.
Jerome clearly drove a Trabant at one point. Like that's just like.
It's like Dan Tallon can only drive if they're engaging in drifts around corners at every turn.
See, like here's the thing. Here's my thing. So Dan Tallon was a shyster from L.A. or somewhere around there, right?
Eric?
Yes. Can you not hear me?
Not before.
Did not hear an immediate response. Did now.
Oh, sorry. Yes. No, he was from LA. He would admit to anything else though, but yeah.
So this does present the rather distinct issue of Dan is going to have to figure out driving on the other side of the road.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's not a big deal.
Just hold a mirror. Just hold a mirror in front of the car. Problem solved.
So I've got a question for Jerome.
He drove in LA.
Yes.
Driving on the road. That's not pretty much how you do it anyway.
So the question for Jerome is: did he drive a Trabant or a Lada? That's the question. That's the real question.
An El Camino?
No. He's wrong side of the Iron Curtain sketch.
Yeah, he probably had a lot. I think he's probably like from Estonia at this point. I've decided.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Trabant is more East Germany, really.
Estonian cars.
Anywho,
The cars are made in Estonia. Yeah,
there probably are actually.
the Rexer.
Yeah. Anywho, so I guess at some point we're going to investigate a gallery in London, Nick.
All right.
Not the direction he wanted to go in.
I can do something with it. I can do something.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. Anything else you guys want to do? Do you want? Is there some other unforeseen detail that you guys that I've given you guys that you think is the crux of everything? That
I don't think it's a. I just thought as I said, I don't have it. I currently don't have an investigation angle, so I figured I'd throw it open to other people.
Do you want to follow up on that horny couple that was hanging out around Reiko when she died? Like, do you think that they're up to something?
No, not really.
I mean, no. We want to wait for another arc or two to find out that actually hooking them up together was actually the wrong thing to do.
Oh yeah.
I'm just over here going like,
the married couple you guys helped out. I was talking about the Reiko's roommate and that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just over here going like those two who were hooking up while Reiko was busy dying, and I'm just over here going, geez, I hope they didn't get a kink out of that.
Oh god, it's so complicated.
Les petites morts.
The only other thing the only thing I can think of right now is maybe talking to the Reapers at some point and seeing if they've heard any. If any of the word of what I sent in my report has gotten to them, and if they've got any thoughts on that sort of stuff, but that I think can wait for another time.
Cool.
So that gives you time to actually think about that. I just figured I'd give you a heads up that might be an angle that Gideon will take at some point, because most of the other Reapers might have thoughts on this, whether or not they're useful or not. But I figured I'd throw that out there.
All right. So, in summary, where we are right now, you are kind of trying to get that kind of feeler out. We've got the art gallery undercover infiltration plan to see what's going on there. And we've got Tan and Reiko trying to figure out a way to make sure that Yuki attends Reiko's funeral.
Yes.
Which you do have like an actual like hard time limit on.
Yes.
So okay. Anything else? This will, I think, just be a matter of like just like setting things up, considering that we're getting close to the end of our playtime.
Yes.
I think the next thing we need to work out is finding the ghost of Ronald Reagan so we can all punch it.
Ghost.
I mean, I'm pretty on board with this idea. I think it's got no connection to anything we've done so far, but
connected. It's definitely connected.
I mean,
Everything bad that happens will be traced back to Ronald Reagan.
I'm willing to hear you out on this, Eric. So I think we can make it happen. It might be hard to swing it, but if you want to punch Ronald Reagan's ghost, then I can make it happen. So.
I mean, I'll be honest. Not everything bad that happens is tied to Ronald Reagan. A lot of it's tied back to Henry Kissinger, but he's still alive.
So,
we can't do anything about him.
to do a callback to another joke, Ronald Reagan is waiting at the portal from the world of the living with the baseball bat for John Hinckley.
All right. I would figure that like the ending scene would just be like back at the fulcrum, like somehow Alex found their way over there, and there's some other bullshit like carnival, like festival type thing, food trucking adjacent type of thing going on there in the courtyard. I actually like that idea of like like even though it would not make any sense in this time frame, like food trucks just somehow in the courtyard, despite the fact there's no way for them to get through the building into the courtyard.
See, it wouldn't be a food truck. It'd be those push cart things that people set up outside like baseball stadiums and such.
Yeah. That'd be it. Like just like, but like I just like these street. Like for me, I just want to have like a city within an apartment complex energy there. It's very fun.
I also do want to say one thing, Nick. The image you found for Gideon's office is so goddamn perfect.
Oh, good.
Down to the computer on the floor. I love this.
On the floor, yeah.
It's that model's the C64. I love it. It's great.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's really good.
I think there might be a little too much color in it, but
That's about the only that might be the only complaint. But you know what? I could live. The walls are green, not taupe. But
there's stuff on the walls that isn't just more filing cabinets.
no, those might be there because of Dan.
That's true.
It's like I gotta have something up here. I bought the first thing that I could find that it would be surface decoration. It's going up now.
Okay.
I'm putting a coat rack here. Neither of us wear coats, but
I do all the time, like a hat. It's like my hat that I wear almost all the time.
neither of us take our coats off, but we need a coat rack.
1960s, Pinky. Men wear hats all the time. All the time.
So, after all of the hullabaloo of the day and
Yes.
of the events conclude, Reiko will head back to her apartment, I suppose we can
Yes.
conclude it as.
Mm-hmm.
And will just kind of, unequip, flop onto her bed. Yoru comes over and just like purr, rub, climb on top of chest, flop.
Mhm.
And she'll just kind of like start petting her, her afterlife cat because she didn't really get to have one. And it's just going to kind of like stare at the ceiling. Have I been bad to you, Yuki? And that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this is a good point to close things.
Okie dokie.
As I think that we all have a few things to consider in terms of what to do next.
Mhm.
So thank you everyone for joining us for
Indeed.
Dungeons and Dragons Abeyance. We will return hopefully very soon in order to continue this adventure, and we'll see how our heroes will follow up on all these bits of knowledge that they have to work with now. So thanks everyone. Thanks guys for joining me this week and playing and making it a fun session.
Oh, it was good. It was good. Glad to do it. Thank you for running, as always.
Also, I hate you all, but that's okay.
Again,
Hey,
Nick,
I had no part in that. Do not blame me.
I mean, that is actually 100% true. You had nothing to do with it.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I'm going to make a note of
I-
it.
Nick,
And I had everything to do with it, right? Wait.
Nick, you're welcome.
This is all me. I
It's mostly Eric, yeah.
yeah. I wear this hatred as a badge of honor. I've once again pissed off my GM.
Right?
It's not me for once.
We'll see you on the next session. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.